Hi everyone! Today I'm going to fill a sketchbook spread and I've already done some light sketches and I'm going to use my Crayola super tip markers and some Faber Castell polychromos pencils. If you're new here, my name is Sally and I'm a mixed media artist in Australia, and if you're not new here, welcome back. I've been so busy lately and I had no idea what to do for this week's video, so I put a poll in my community tab and asked what you'd like to see this week: a pet painting commission or a sketchbook spread, and y'all chose the sketchbook, so here we are. I only have a few pages left to fill, so we'll be doing a full sketchbook tour in a week or so, which is very exciting. I've been doing so many paintings in October that I barely opened my sketchbook for the whole month, so I'm actually quite surprised to be so close to finishing it all of a sudden. And I'm very fortunate to have had a few pet portraits commissioned to me lately, so I've been working on those as well. And I'm prepping to vend a market this weekend. So of course I've had loads of new ideas for things to make last minute. And I've been making new mini zines, painting and printing to get a bunch of things available for the market. So that also means that whatever is left will be going into a pre-holiday shop update. And I currently have 40% off last year's prints on my Etsy to clear some space, so you'll find the link for that in the description box if you want to grab some sale items. So today I'm doing a whole sketchbook spread, and I wanted to use an easy art supply after all the painting that I've been doing, and I just wanted to grab some markers and just go in. I did some portraits with these Crayola super tip markers during the last 100 heads challenge that I did, and they were really fun to work with during that challenge. I usually just use them in my bullet journal just because they're cheap, there's loads of colours and they don't bleed through the paper. Word of warning though, they are not water resistant, so don't get your paper wet unless you want them to move and shift around. And then I added some pencil texture and detail on top once I'd laid the main sections of colour down with the markers. So this spread is about 1984 movie Paris, Texas. It's the 40th anniversary this year and the film has had a full 4K restoration, and my local cinema was screening it, so I went along one day as I hadn't watched it in years. I truly believe that movies were made to see in cinemas, and I always love to see old classics in this way whenever they come back around. And it's always such a treat. I think we're so used to streaming everything, and like, I don't have a TV at home. I just watch things on my iPad, my laptop, or I've got my big computer monitor, but I just love being fully immersed in a movie at the cinema. That's truly the way you're supposed to experience it, I believe. So I often find that the experience of the movie at the cinema is so different than when I'm watching at home. Like, I could watch the same movie at home and at the cinema and have a totally different feeling and vibe from it. Does this make sense to anybody else, or is this just me? I love movies so much. And I love to be fully immersed in the locations and the soundtrack. It's truly magic. And I don't know how they fix up old film to restore it, but this print was so beautiful. And for a film where the landscape is such a huge part of the story, it's definitely worth checking out at the cinema if you can. I might even go back and see it again. I don't know. So Paris, Texas was directed by German filmmaker Wenders and written by actor Sam Shepard not long into his acting career. Paris, Texas stars Dean Stanton, Nastassja Kinski and Dean Stockwell, and it's a movie about loss and relationships, connection and disconnection, and it's set to a beautifully sparse soundtrack by Ry Cooder. And it's a quiet film, quite literally. Lead Harry Dean Stanton doesn't say a word for the entire first act, but it also has a lot to say if you just sit with it and let the entirety of the film wash over you. If you've ever had something happen to you in a relationship that left you so devastated that you were left haunted, wandering lost, maybe searching for purpose, maybe not knowing or caring what's next, yup, that's Paris, Texas. It's not going to be for everybody, especially nowadays when we're so rarely sat in contemplation, but this has the absolute perfect dose of existentialism, which, if you know me in real life and we've talked about movies, you know that I adore an existential film. A gorgeous colour palette that's really done justice with this new restoration. And if it ever gets a proper physical release, I'll be adding this to my collection, this new print. And beautifully understated performances, especially by lead Harry, who was incidentally one of my all-time favourite character actors. Add in an epic journey on the road, and this movie has everything I could possibly want. And I've mentioned it before, but it's one of those movies where every frame could be an artful photograph, and I get so visually inspired by those kind of films. So as soon as I got home from the cinema, I just wanted to draw some impressions. And the colour palette in the film is so striking that markers were kind of the perfect choice. So this portrait here is Jane, played by German actress Nastassja Kinski. I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing this the entire way through. And she was the daughter of incredibly intense German actor Klaus Kinski. And Nastassja is so gorgeous and her hair is perfect. And this movie made me want to wear a hot pink fuzzy jumper, which is something I would never do. But she's just so beautiful and perfect in this movie. I was just so incredibly inspired by the emotions of the film and by the intense colours of the film that I wanted to add, I wanted this to not just be portraits. And recently I signed up to Sophie McPike's Patreon, and she has an online class for her patrons, and the class was about sketchbook spreads. So I'm obviously not going to go into the details of the class, but it has sort of opened my mind to adding different elements to the page when I would usually just do portraits because that's my comfort zone. So yeah, it's been really fun to experiment with that and try out some new things. Although in saying that, this is portrait heavy because I wanted to do character studies. Which brings us to Harry Dean Stanton as Travis Henderson. And there were so many iconic images of him in this film, but I think because I sketched this straight after I got home, what really stuck with me was this particular scene. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of that because I don't want to give any spoilers in case you were planning to see this and you haven't already. But it was so moving to me. And Harry Dean Stanton said that this was his favourite film that he made, which is saying a lot because he was in some iconic roles. Harry was the character actor, and Paris, Texas was a rare lead role for him. He was in so many indie and cult films, and his career spanned more than 6 decades, with his last role in 2017, the year that he passed away at 91 years old. I don't even know where to begin with the movies that I've loved Harry Dean Stanton in, because he's just been in so many, and he has a face that you would definitely recognize, especially if you watch a lot of like indie cinema. And watching Paris, Texas again, with him now gone and this being one of his very few lead roles, he's so perfect in this role. He so captures the melancholy and the loneliness and the searching, both internally and externally. It's just like I can't imagine anybody else being as perfect in this role, in this movie, as Harry Dean Stanton. And also musicians Kurt Cobain and Elliott Smith both have said it was their favourite movie as well. Paris, Texas feels timeless. Like, I almost expect it to have been made in the new wave of American cinema in the late 60s, early 70s. It doesn't feel of the 80s at all. And it also feels quintessentially American, being a Western road movie, but it's a German-French production. And so it has this sort of like undercurrent of being not of its time, of its place or something, which makes it feel timeless. And it's experimental in the way that Easy Rider is. So if you like that and you haven't seen Paris, Texas, I think you'll like it as much as I do. And I just added another smaller portrait of Jane. So I've got the two main portraits on either page, Jane and Travis on the left there, and then I did another little portrait of Jane just because she's so beautiful, and I just wanted to capture that gorgeousness again. And again, how I approached these drawings was I had sketched everything out in graphite, and I used my kneadable eraser just to take off the excess graphite before I went in with the markers. And all I did was just block in the shapes using my Crayola super tips. And I find it really cool to use them in this way because you can't really blend them, and they're so bright. Like, there's not a lot of like real like skin tone shades that I would usually use, so they're kind of challenging. So you can see I've left a lot of white space, like the page through there, and then I'll add in details and a bit more dimension with the pencils. And it's a nice, like, brightly coloured, simplified portrait. And then I use this grey gel pen just to do an outline. And I found that really sort of tied the whole thing together. And then I thought I would stick in my movie ticket. So I just ripped it up a bit so it would fit to the page and not take up too much of the space. And so this sketchbook spread sort of became a bit like a journal page. And because there's so much, while it's such a quiet film, there's some beautiful monologues towards the end. So I thought I would add in some text as well. So I just filled in those blank spaces with some colour and added some little elements to the rest of the blank spaces, which there wasn't very many of, and then I added my text. You just disappeared. And then I used to talk to you all the time, even though I was alone. And here is the full sketchbook spread. I thought I had filmed the third piece of text, but I didn't. So there we have Hunter's hands holding the for sale sign for the land in Paris, Texas. Our beautiful Jane, lost in a deep, vast country where nobody knew him, somewhere without language or streets. He dreamed about this place without knowing its name. It's such a beautiful movie, and I hope I've inspired you to check it out if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. I absolutely adore it. I feel like I could make a whole zine about this movie. So Ko-fi members, let me know if you want a zine about Paris, Texas, because I'll make it for you. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble about movies. I love them so much, and I'll see you next time.